Hello students, this is a mini lecture to help you out on carbohydrates. It'll give you the basics of the things that you need to understand. You should know the functions of a carbohydrate. You should know that when you eat them, it stores the energy. It transports the stored energy within its complex organisms through the bloodstream, for example. It is a structural molecule as well. It gives a lot of organisms their shape. And it also can be a recognition or a signaling molecule. There are three main categories of carbohydrates. One is a monosaccharide. Mono means one, and saccharide means sugar. So they are simple sugars. There's two categories of them, or two types. Pentoses are 5-carbon sugars, and hexoses are 6-carbon sugars. And then you have those examples listed there. For a pentose sugar, you need to be able to number the sugars and know which carbon is number 1 and which carbon is number 3, for example. It always starts on the right, and sugars are always a ring structure. And so you can see that carbon number 1 is right here, and then it goes counterclockwise, where the 5th carbon is off of the ring. For example, ribose and then deoxyribose. Same thing for hexoses. Number 1 is always on the left side after the oxygen in the ring, and then it goes counterclockwise where your 6th carbon is off of the ring. Examples of hexoses are mannose, galactose, glucose, and fructose. Monosaccharides can covalently bond to each other to form a disaccharide, which is a double sugar. So for example, if you have a glucose and a fructose, on one of the carbons where you have a hydroxyl group, right here, and on your second sugar where you have a hydroxyl group, one of those, just the hydrogen will come off. That forms water. That's why it's called a condensation reaction. And so that bond that forms right here is what forms a disaccharide, and that is called a glycosidic linkage. That is the name of that covalent bond. Here are examples of common disaccharides. All of them are showing the glycosidic linkage between carbon 1 on one sugar and the carbon 4 on the second sugar. So common disaccharides are lactose, found in milk, maltose, found in malts, sucrose, which is table sugar. If you have many sugars bonded together, that is a polysaccharide. So they are huge polymers of monosaccharides, and they can actually form chains, which I'll show you what that means. There's really 4 categories. You have starches, glycogen, cellulose, and chitin is a 4th one. Okay, here is cellulose. Cellulose is found in plants. It's what cell walls are made of. And so you can see you have a glucose, a glucose, a glucose, a glucose, and you can see the glycosidic linkages between them. Okay, it's very linear. And what happens is, because you have these hydroxyl groups where this oxygen is, that oxygen, because it's electronegative, is going to be attracted to other polar atoms. And so what happens is you have hydrogen bonds that result. And so that actually makes this molecule very straight and parallel. Here's starch. Starch is what stores the glucose in a plant cell. Is also a bunch of glucoses bonded together. However, there is bonding also. You have bonding at carbon 1 and 4, but also at carbon 6. So you can see right here we have another glucose being added. That makes the molecule branched. And then you can see here, those are them stored in a potato cell. Glycogen is similar to starch, except that is where you store your glucose in animal cells. You can see it's the same structure. You have bonding at carbon 1, carbon 4, and carbon 6. However, it happens more often. So there's a lot more branching in glycogen than you would see in starch. And then in the last one, it's called chitin, and this is what exoskeletons are made of in like insects. It's similar. It has a glucose, let's say, bonded. Here's your little glycosidic linkage. I'm not the greatest drawer. Bonded to another glucose, and then you have nitrogen compounds attached to it. And so that is also considered a polysaccharide.